The Carpenter and the Cradle, a History Weaver Adventure, Book 1, by Connie Worden, read by the author. Chapter 25. Okay, look here. Yes, it's a wedding announcement. Yikes, only 4 years ago. Wow. All this has come down fast on poor Georgie. July spoke out, intensity in her voice. Looks like Georgie's mom's name was, or whatever the proper verb tense is to use when someone's died. Allison Stone. Anything else surface when you search for James McKay, Allison Stone, or Allison McKay, Victoria Stone, and St. George's Green? June said, staring intently at the screen. Oh, well, here's more information about the village of St. George's Green. Wow, it's small, even smaller than Beaver Row. Population 567, that's small. Guess everyone knew everyone there. We're over 1,000 in Beaver Row, and I think everyone knows everyone here. And there it is, on a map, right near the border between Scotland and England. I'm surprised to find a map detailed enough to show a village that tiny, July informed the small group. Yup, there's James McKay of St. George's Green again. Coral broke in to point to one of the synopses for the news articles on the search page. What's that? He was being awarded some special award for outstanding service to blah, blah, blah. What's that one? Click on it, July. You're getting as bad as June, July grumbled, but obeyed. Oh, big deal. What a hero. He did so many hours of village green beautification as part of some big deal village organization, and all the time he's trying to kill his stepdaughter? Very nice. June snorted at the words on the screen. You're right, whoever it was that thought he was originally from Canada, Fern stated, and then read, Newcomer, James McKay, lately of Penhurst, British Columbia, Canada, who married our own local, Allison Stone, has shown himself a model citizen by his civic efforts, and so on and so forth. Oh, it's sickening. It's just sickening. What a hypocrite, Fern said, her eyes taking on a different kind of glint than the sparkle of excitement they'd shown earlier. But we have a picture, July half shouted. The internet article carrying the original newspaper photo showed a man in his early 40s with a wide smile and thick black hair pulled back into a short ponytail. A tattoo on his neck was just visible in the head and shoulders picture. What's the design of the tattoo? Can you zoom in on it, July? June asked. No, it won't zoom. I can't tell. Some weird design. You can't see enough to know what it is. He doesn't look terrible. He looks kind of like a nice guy, Coral said uncertainly. Exactly, June said. That's why everyone is taken in by him. Don't people always say that about murderers after they get caught and tried? We had no idea. He seemed to be such a nice man. That's why they get away with it as long as they do. Women go off with serial killers because they look like such nice guys. But we know better. Georgie's story adds up, and we'd better do something to find this guy. And find Georgie. If it's not too late already. Remember, she disappeared out of that shed 3 days ago now, and it's only just today that it finally occurred to us to look for missing persons reports on the internet. The thing is, now we finally have the information we need to know who we're looking for and maybe where to find him. We now know his name is James McKay, we know he's likely living in Penhurst, and we know what he looks like. But what can we do with the information? We can hardly hunt him down ourselves, and we still don't have a shred of evidence to go to the police with. And if he has his hands on Georgie, maybe it's too late already. If he's trying to get rid of her for whatever reason, he's had time to act. He may already have done it. June's voice caught on a sob in her throat. Don't be defeatist, June, July ordered sternly. We're not giving up yet. It's probably time we told our parents what we know. All of us. That is, if you two think it's a good idea, Coral and Fern, I think we should tell our parents, June. And we're going to print this picture off of James McKay, and we're going to get our parents to take us to Penhurst, and we're going on a manhunt. We can start asking around the town to find out if anyone recognizes his picture, and if anyone knows where he lives. The beauty of it is, it's a small town. No one stays invisible in a small town. Someone will know something about him. And if we find out where he lives, then what? June asked, still almost crying. Are we just going to go up and knock on his door and say something like, we know you have your stepdaughter and we know you're trying to hurt her. Where is she? We demand to know. That's going to be great. Very effective, July. We've got this far. We'll think of something once we get that far. You agree with me that we just can't leave Georgie to her fate? Not if there's a chance she's still alive, and if we could possibly rescue her somehow. We have to try. We have to do something. And we can start by looking for this guy, that's all I'm saying. Are we all agreed on that much? July barked in her best Sergeant Major's voice. The solemn girls all nodded, even tearful June. Ko immediately dropped his eyes when Porter met his gaze. There was a belligerent, defiant look on Porter's face as he looked around the group and saw the men's intent looks. Ko wasn't sure if it meant, "Do you really think I did this thing? How dare you think such a thing?" Or if it meant, "Yes, I did this thing, and what do you think you're going to do about it? No one can prove anything, and I'm not talking." "We'll have to meet as a council later tonight and discuss this," Limo said in a low growl. "If anyone in this group turns out to be responsible, he must know that he'll end up taking the place of the man who escaped. In the meantime, we have work to do. We'd better get tracking the escapee. He can't be allowed to spy and then return to his own people and tell them everything he knows. He has a head start on us, but we outnumber him. We'll get him. We're all going together, and I warn you, I'll be watching you, all of you. If anyone shows his hand as being the party responsible for setting our enemy free, I'll discover it. So, no traitors among us. Do your best to recapture this dangerous person, or I will notice that you haven't. Goro, you're our best tracker. Go home and get your dogs. The rest of you, go home and put some food together. We don't know how long we may be looking for him. We'd better take supplies. Hopefully he can't have made it to the enemy village already. He hasn't had that much of a head start. We'll meet back here just as soon as we can. Now go." "If only we knew what it was all about, though," Fern said in her usual low tones. People were always telling Fern to speak up. "I mean, why does he want to kill Georgie? Why did he come back to Penhurst? If we knew more, we might have a better idea what we're dealing with and what to tell your parents." There was a slight emphasis on the "your parents," as a way of letting her friends know that she had no intention of telling her mom or Tim anything about the situation. She was feeling a little faint already. Was there any way possible to keep this from her mom now? The fat looked very squarely in the fire. "Do you think, before we jump in and talk to your parents, that we can do a little more detective work and some brainstorming? Maybe see what else we can learn about James McKay and Victoria and her mom, and St. George's Green from the internet? Maybe even Penhurst. I mean, why did he bring Georgie back here?" Coral interjected into the conversation. "I think it makes sense why he would bring her back to Penhurst," July said slowly. "If he was wanting to get rid of her, making it look like an accident hadn't worked very well back in St. George's Green. Georgie kept escaping. But there, where everyone knew them, he had no alternative, not without arousing suspicion at least. But once they were back in Penhurst, it looks like no one there knew yet that he had a stepdaughter. If he did away with her almost on arrival, or at least before anyone had seen her or knew about her, no one would ask any questions about what happened to his stepdaughter. Of course, there would be records that she'd arrived in the country, but he could deal with that in time. No, that's the thing that makes sense. He brought her back to Canada to kill her. But why does he want to kill her? You're right, Coral. It would sure be nice to try and figure that out before we talk to any adults about this. Our story looks very thin at the moment. I wish Georgie had said more to us. She seemed to think she knew why, or at least she had a guess, and I think she had come to Beaver Row to gather some evidence. That's sort of the conclusion I came to from what she said to June and I at one point. Was that your impression too, June, from what she said to us? June nodded eagerly. Yeah. Don't you wish now, Ju, that we'd worked harder on getting her to tell us more? Can you think back and remember anything that she may have let slip accidentally that could set us off in the right direction? July shook her head. No, I've been racking my brains, but I can't think of anything. Nothing that could give us a clue, at least. Maybe we can keep searching the net, then, and see what we can learn, Fern suggested mildly. Like, did he win any more awards or do any more big-deal volunteer work in St. George's Green? If there were any interviews with him where he talked about why he moved to Scotland or how he met Georgie's mom, that kind of thing, that might be helpful. Maybe we could get a clue. The girls all peered over July's shoulder as she turned back to the computer and began scrolling down the search page. But nothing else seemed applicable to the subject matter at hand. There was only the wedding announcement and the one newspaper article talking specifically about James Mackay in relation to his life in St. George's Green, and neither one gave them anything else to go on. Malchus, you and Turo go and gather the men who aren't here and move the sacred pieces to the hiding spot. Can't take any chances with them. This man was obviously an enemy spy, and he's seen the council chamber and can lead the enemy directly there, now that he's on the loose, Limo barked. If he was disappointed to be kept back from the hunt, Malchus's face showed no emotion. Impassively, he clapped his hands together in a signal that he had heard and would obey instantly, and he and Turu set off at a trot in the direction of the village to round up the men who hadn't attained full council membership yet, and the young boys who were almost men. The move would take all the strong arms they could use, and the other council members were needed for the search for the enemy spy. Ko's chest rose with pride at the thought that he was included with the men who were off in search of the stranger. He was young, but already a valued tracker.